This is my 15 unit project in San Diego, California, and I'm gonna show you exactly how much it costs to build this exact same thing. All right, so when you're building any sort of development project, it's gonna be broken down into 3 phases. You have the acquisition, which is what you're actually buying up front, so the land or the existing structure. You have the soft cost, which is everything else leading up to the point you're allowed to actually build. And it's basically just money you have to dump into it before you're actually allowed to touch the dirt. And then you have the hard costs. The hard costs are the actual moving of the dirt, the building of the structure, and everything else you need to be able to actually rent it out. So those 3 are super important for going forward, understanding everything that I'm talking about. The first thing is you have to actually buy the property. So this is an 8,000 square foot lot in San Diego with an existing 4 unit structure on it. Those 4 units are all 3 bed, 2 baths, and that is a total of like 4,000 square feet. So we bought this thing for $2 million, just under 1.95. And we had 20% seller finance, 70% from the bank, and we came down with 10%. After you buy the project, you have to pay for the permits and all of the costs associated with getting it to the point you're allowed to build it. So that has everything to do with the actual design and architecture and all the soft costs of vendors drawing the plan set, which was about $75,000. From there, you have other fees associated with it, the actual permitting with the city and all of those fees, which is about another $50,000 on something like this. Finally, you pay water, sewer fees, and school fees right before you pull the permits. That is another about $75,000. So that put us at a total of $200,000 for the total project cost before we were even allowed to touch the dirt. Once you finally break ground, that's when the real pain points come into play. So we not only have to pay for the hard costs, which is all the materials and labor associated with the project. You have to pay for landscaping, and also you need to pay for what's called interest reserve if you're getting this thing actually financed by a company paying for the interest on it. So all those fees, it's $1.9 million for the build itself, and another $250,000 in interest reserve for 9 more months of interest. All right, so when you actually get to the hard cost phase, the actual building of the structure, I like to break it down into 3 phases for the cost. So the first one is everything through the foundation. So what that includes is you have the underground, so you actually have to dig out where things are gonna go for the foundation, for the plumbing, the electrical, anything else that goes in there. And from there, you set up, as you can see here, there's some form boards, and that actually allows you to then pour the foundation. So that's all of what happens in the first phase, getting to the foundation to where you can actually start putting the structure on top of it. All right, so the first thing you're gonna do is you have to get it to the point where you have a foundation. So everything that goes into that is the actual trenching. So you actually have to dig what you're trying to, how it's laid out. From there, you put in all the plumbing, you put in all the electrical, anything else you need, and then you're actually gonna pour the foundation, which this is what the boards are for. It's gonna help you actually pour the foundation, keep the cement and whatever else you're using inside of this for you. That total cost for us is $476,700 just to get to the point you can put framing on it. Once you get the foundation poured, you're actually able to start doing the framing and everything else, building the sticks, building the roof, getting what I call the shell for the property. So all of that cost, which is the framing, the roof, all the stucco around it, getting it to the point they can work when it's raining outside is pretty much how I look at it. That's gonna be $550,000. Once you have it framed out, that's when you can go in, you can start putting kitchens, you can start putting cabinets, you can start putting all of the interior stuff in the project, getting it rent ready. So all of that to get it actually rent ready is gonna be $677,500. So the last thing that I wanna talk to you about is project management and contingency. So if you're actually paying somebody to manage the project for you, which we are, and we're gonna be putting a contingency on it, it's gonna be another $178,000 for this project. So just for the build itself, we're looking at $1,900,400 total. All right, so looking at all of the costs we've talked about so far, we're at the acquisition of $1.95 million. We have $200,000 of permits, and then we have $1.9,400,000 for the hard costs. But wait, there's a couple fees we didn't talk about. We've had holding costs just getting it through the point of permitting of about $250,000. On top of that, we have another $250,000 dedicated to interest reserve. Interest reserve is when you're using a construction loan, they allow you to add interest to to the actual loan amount, so you're not paying that on a monthly basis while you're going through the renovation and construction. And on top of that, we've had another $50,000 of probably fees associated with doing the refinances and everything. So taking all of that into account, that puts us at a total project cost of $4,600,400. My wallet hurts after talking about all of those costs for the project, but it's super important to make sure that you understand all of the costs before you get into your project. Otherwise, you're gonna catch yourself not having enough money to finish it. So all of those costs, about $4.6 million in, we're looking at an exit value of about $6.8 million on this project. So it's worth the cost in most cases, but make sure you understand it so you can make it to the finish line. I'm the builder, Brian. If you like content like this, I am going to give you everything that I have in my brain to show you how to do this yourself. Like and subscribe for more.